Hello, Internet. Hello, Shadows of Nox audience. I am Grimnack. I am actually going to be running a Fate game, which, if you're not familiar with it, it is a game by Evil Hat. Um, it's my first time running this particular system in depth, so there's going to be a few hiccups as we go along. Um, the game is called Villainous, Being Villainous 101. The characters are going to be villains in a world filled with heroes and villains, and we'll see how things go. You can catch me, well, on Shadows of Nox on Wednesdays playing Power Rangers. And let's see. I guess that's enough for me. Let's go through eeny, meeny, miny. John.
Hello, my name is John Blair. You can find me on the internet as Chunky Love. I am here to play a villain. I have some vague ideas about what I want to do, but I don't know if I can do them. So we will see throughout the course of this fun that we will have today if I can do those things. But you can catch me also on Wednesdays as a Power Ranger. So feel free to do that if you want.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to go clockwise as I see it on Discord. So that means that Kit is next.
Oh no, not me. I'm Kit. You can find me nowhere, sometimes, somewhere. I pop into various games here on Shadow of Nox and a couple other places, but not anywhere as consistent as every Wednesday, so sad for me. Fortunately. I'm really looking forward to this, because I actually really enjoyed the Fate system. I've done it a few times before, so you'll probably hear me pop up a fair amount to correct people, because I'm annoying like that. Who's ready to do crime, everybody?
Do crime.
I love crime.
Excellent. All right. If we keep going clockwise, next we have Lottie.
Hi, I'm Lottie West. You can find me on everything on the internet, Lottie West. I am a nerd content creator, so I'm sometimes traveling at LARPs or conventions. Want to see where I'm going to be at? You can always check out my Instagram. I'm excited to do some villainy things, and you can catch me here with Power Rangers on Wednesdays, but not the Power Rangers that's live, another Power Rangers, the one that's in the podcast. And then you can also catch me in Call of Cthulhu on some Sunday nights, most Sunday nights.
Excellent. All right. And last we have our wonderful tech person, Isabitz.
Hi, I remembered to unmute myself this time.
Certainly helps.
It does sometimes. I am Isabitz or Elizabeth. I am also here every Wednesday for Power Rangers. I'm also here every Sunday running Call of Cthulhu.
Is it everybody but me?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody plays at least one of the Power Rangers games except you.
Oh. Okay.
Your work schedule gets in the way. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure you might get
Sorry,
annoyed.
I interrupted you.
I think I was done. I think that's all I'm doing right now. So.
All right. So that gets rid of the introductions. Hooray! This is going to be our session 0. We're going to be working on establishing the world, making characters, along with covering a few other things in terms of what to see. Since this is a villain's game, I have instructed the players, and I'm going to be telling the audience now, a lot of the story is going to be driven by the characters and their choices. Sure, there's going to be things going on in the background, heroes doing their thing, other villains being villainous. But a lot of what we're going to see is based on the choices the players make. So I'm going to be heavily reactionary. As such, we're going to be using the Lines and Veils system. If you're not familiar with it, we can put a link for people to actually take a look at it. Essentially, it's a list of things that people don't want to see or are okay with being discussed, but we don't need to go into detail for. As previously mentioned, there's one line that we are going to not cross, and that is non-consensual sexual content, which I am perfectly fine with. As players come up with those ideas, those lines and veils, we'll be discussing them. We'll also be using the X card in the event we hit an event that a player feels uncomfortable with crossing, so we will essentially put a stop to that particular scene. It is necessary given the fact that players drive the story. One of the big things this game's going to run into, which it is a game aspect, this is very much a heroes versus villains world. Heroes exist, villains exist. They are a step above a normal person. Some people consider them to be near demigods. Some of them consider them to be demigods, depending on how powerful and old they become. And the players are fledglings. They've started their villainous journey. They may not necessarily be the most powerful or the most clever, but they're banding together, and hopefully they'll be able to make a change to the world that they want to see. What we're going to go from here is we need to create some more game aspects, things that help shape the story that the group wants to experience. Given that I've created heroes and villains, because that's a major part of the story, I want to kind of discuss what goals your characters may have broadly overall. Anybody want to volunteer to go first with what your character concept at the very least is before we get into character creation?
Sure, I'll gladly go first because I'm excited to do terrible things, which says things that I probably
Yay.
shouldn't admit. Necromancy. I'm ready for necromancy is what I'm getting at here because Fate is finally a game where I can do that and it not be sad for me. So I will be playing a silver-tongued necromancer. Let's just, going for that good old-fashioned world domination. Let's do it.
All right. Well, at least one of you wants world domination. Anybody else want to share some details?
We'll
so
start
we can
small.
kind of
Villages.
Villages, provinces.
I guess I will share mine. My character concept idea was a shape-changing assassin who
Ooh.
wants revenge on the heroes that killed her fiance.
Very nice. Revenge stories are always good.
I'll go. My idea for a character is perhaps a centaur who feels that the world is progressing in a manner ill to the ecological and environmental safety and would like to destroy anyone and anything that is destroying the planet.
So he's an eco-terrorist, sort of.
Essentially, he's like an
He's like an eco-terrorist Lorax.
Yeah, essentially.
I love it.
Centaur Lorax.
Yeah, a planeteer if they were effective.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. My concept is very, very vapid, but I want to be a goblin girl who is very upset that she is not as pretty as the other people edge, and she takes it out on other people that are prettier.
Excellent, excellent. All right. That's glorious. So given these in mind, your characters all have some have slightly smaller goals than others because somebody's like fix the world, make it green again. Somebody's like dominate the world. Somebody else is like kill these people. You can't. They're not mutually exclusive. Somebody wants to kill the pretty people, which, you know what? As somebody who is not one of their pretty people, I am down for that particular subject. And then, of course, we have an assassin who wants revenge, which is always great. Revenge.
With a
All right.
romantic backstory. Oh,
Yeah, I know, right? Okay.
my cat is making the weirdest faces. Sorry.
So in this particular case, we can make this a sort of continent wide adventure, since at least two people want to do things world related.
This from the way you've been describing this game so far, I feel like it has a lot of similarities to Powered by the Apocalypse. Like the way that you set up the game and stuff. Just to notice.
Evil Hat has made some Powered by the Apocalypse systems, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't
they
be
have.
surprised that there are some similarities.
Both systems are strongly narrative based, with a lot less focus on crunchy rules, so you can click the math rocks against each other.
Math rocks.
What? Look, I've played a lot of systems. I love them. I do, but a lot of them, 90% of the book is combat because you're bashing the math rocks against each other to see who's better at it.
To be fair, there will be bashing of math rocks, literally this time, because it uses fudge dice, which is pluses, minuses, and blanks.
Yay!
Oh, I do want to say, by revenge, I mean find out which heroes killed him and then find everybody that they love and murder them first.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
No,
throw
no.
that out there.
Ooh,
Not just I just
I
don't want to
love
kill
that.
them. I want to kill everything they love and then
Right.
Thank
that's
you.
Why,
I
Is
see.
it
that's
a-
why you're a villain.
exactly.
That's glorious. That's glorious.
In some family lines.
Exactly. And then let them stew in their grief before I go and kill them.
Okay.
Excellent. All right.
I can make that. We
So
can make that happen. It's
with-
great.
with these goals in mind, we want to see about adding a game aspect that kind of covers what your group is hoping to accomplish, what kind of conflicts you want to see, things like that. Because taking over the continent could be something as simple as, amassing an army and going to war, or you could be doing political machinations since you have somebody who's against the pretty people, and you also have an assassin and apparently a centaur druid.
And Darfran.
Hey, listen,
Yeah.
that's just like my I didn't know how like expansive we were gonna be in terms of what our goals could be. So I went with I went with something that I thought would be
Oh, I'm
interest-
not opposed to your idea. It's very interesting. I like it. But we need to kind of figure out how this works into the world, as opposed to what's going on now. One of the things we could see is because of how things are working, there could be something that has to do with we could go on the notion there's something that has to do with corruption in the world. Maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be like, oh, the world is dying, but there could be things that's like corrupting influences. Like a lot of the governments are making terrible decisions because something has gone wrong. One of the major aspects that I'm working with here is that the Fae in this particular setting are highly trapped into like into stories. They do that in most mythologies. Granted, I'm picking and choosing what I want to deal with when it comes to the Fae, but they are essentially the wellspring that makes heroes and villains possible. They are trapped within the roles the heroes and villains play, in the world. So if something is maybe corrupting the Fae, that could be corrupting countries and the story and the world and things like that. So that is entirely possible if you want to deal with that particular aspect. That would mean that the Fae play a larger role in the story than I was originally planning. But hey, this is your story.
Well, first off, since we have at least two people who are trying to change how things work, and two other people who are doing more directed crimes, let's call it. Let's call it that. I imagine we're going to be butting heads with various flavors of government quite a bit. So that's something along those lines seems appropriate to me for a world or game aspect.
yeah. the idea for my character was kind of along the lines of like he is upset at sort of like technological advancements and believes that the world should stay as primitive or as like I'm blanking on the word that I'm trying to use, but like
Amish.
as
He's Amish. Yeah.
essentially.
I feel like he's more of a leaning towards magic is closer to nature than technology, right?
Yes, yeah. So he has a lot of issue with like technological advancements and say like industry. You know what I mean? But I don't know how much of that exists in this world. So
Um, that is up for debate. We can actually like move farther into it because I haven't since you help establish the world. We can go into like a uh, into something that's slightly more advanced in terms of technology. Um, so like I hadn't planned on it, but there can be things like motorized vehicles and guns and things of that nature where it's sort of pre-industrial revolution or like
yeah,
during the
that
industrial revolution.
yeah, I feel like that might be a little further down the pipeline than I sort of envisioned. That the world that my character would live in. Like, I feel like he sees the potential of what's happening and wants to kind of like squash it before it, like, you know. But
I see.
if you have a thing with the Fae, I feel like my character would probably be pretty into Fae since they're kind of like, you know,
Well, we don't have to necessarily go that far in terms of technology, but if he's like, this is where things are headed, where technology and industry are going to be uprooting nature as a whole, it could definitely be one of those things where we don't have that kind of advanced technology, but there's still lots of deforestation going on in order to be able to make,
Uh,
in order to be able to produce materials and other things in
Yeah.
I mean,
mass. So
we if we want to avoid the industrial revolutionary stuff, we could just put down, tying into the government and the countries. If their populations are expanding and all of that, they need more land for cities, so they got to cut down more forests, got to turn it into, brick and mortar, all that good stuff. So that kind of ties it all into that without getting into the whole, let's do the industrial revolution.
I can get with that.
I like that
yeah,
too.
Okay, so sounds like a world aspect along the lines of, population booms. Mentioned earlier, the Dread Necromancer was taken out by the heroes a little while back, so one of the biggest things that was killing a lot of people. Maybe people are a little more willing to start up a family nowadays. So everyone's dealing with a population boom. Countries are grabbing for more resources, building more cities. That sound good? A lot of silence and blank
I think
stares.
so.
Okay.
I nodded.
I'm trying to figure out how we can word that into something, but I'm thinking
Expansionist
um,
countries.
that seems good enough to me. Unless anybody has an issue with that particular wording. So, expansionist countries is going to be one of the game aspects. For people not familiar with Fate, aspects are a thing that you, as players, will spend Fate points in order to invoke to give yourselves bonuses, provide negatives to the enemies, which is less likely. Most likely, you're just going to provide yourself bonuses, or you can use them to give yourself an advantage for a future roll. One of the game aspects, which is I established before, is heroes versus villains. It's one that you'll be able to invoke, or I can invoke against you, giving you fate points back. Fate points are a thing you should be spending freely. Um, but this one, by adding expansionist governments or expansionist countries, can't remember the exact wording all of a sudden.
I've already forgotten. Either works for me.
Now,
I
is that
suppose
something I'm supposed to be
expansion-
putting on my sheet somewhere, or is that going somewhere
No.
else? Okay.
This is a world aspect.
Okay.
This is more for Grim than the rest of us. One of the things the GM can do is invoke things to do negative things to us. So us putting expansionist countries means that's the sort of problem that will pop up more often because we've handed that tool to the GM.
Wonderful.
Don't
Now,
worry,
Grim,
we're
would you
going to
say that
cause
these
more problems
countries-
later. Sorry.
Would you say that these countries are which countries on this map are particularly, do you think would be particularly fond of expanding and creating a larger influence for themselves?
All right. There are 4 countries that I can think of off the top of my head that would be the most expansionist. That they're actually closer to the center of the map, which is the Martin Federation,
Right.
the Zamoro, and then the 2 largest evil countries, Espinosa and Rokugan. And for those of you listening, yes, I am stealing Rokugan from Legend of the Five Rings. I have taken the idea of Rokugan as a whole and said, what if but evil? So
Now, when you say they're evil, how are they evil?
no, they're straight up like evil, like in the terms of like they practice blood magic, which is considered evil. They worship evil gods. In
Okay.
Rokugan, there are 4 classes of people. There is the Emperor, who is above everybody. There are the Samurai. There are essentially the serfs. There's a word for it in L5R, I can't remember. And then there are the not people, which are the ones who deal with like all of the sanitation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The serfs and the not people are generally sacrificed as blood rituals to help crops grow, or during war to cast big ritual magic spells to defeat their enemies. If you're not a samurai, you're essentially fuel or a servant. And then
I'm
Espinosa is
curious.
run by dark elves. They're run by the drow. So it they worship a goddess of pain and death. They're also slavers. So
Not great.
Oh,
the pirate nation, by the way, are also slavers. That's the 3rd evil country.
That's Leandra, right?
Yes,
Leandra?
correct.
so where would you think like most like elf kind of people are? Because I'm thinking of them as like the hottest people. So I want her to be from one country and then to like live in the other one. Where are the
So-
ugly people, and where?
I love you, Lottie.
So if you want to be one of the quote ugly people, goblins. You were wanting to play a goblin, right?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Goblins are considered people in this world because you're going to run into like most of the quintessential fantasy races: elves, dwarves, halflings, etc., etc., etc. You're also going to run into the beastkin, which is essentially pick an animal and make it anthropomorphic and humanoid. Hooray! So beastkin would be stuff like dragonkin, rabbit folk, rat folk. Where creatures
Tabaxis.
are not the same, right? Tabaxis, which they would be referred to as cat folk in this particular setting, but yeah. So there's all kinds of things. You're going to run into halves of almost all of these races as well. So, like, if you wanted to be, for example, a half orc, half goblin, which would be one really ugly child, in my opinion, you could do that.
Oh, I like that.
I disagree. I think it
because-
has the potential to be incredibly adorable.
I
Just
mean, they
saying.
could.
She
but
she
if she's unlucky, she's got the worst of both worlds. Just saying.
I guess that's fair.
I like the look on your face there.
I'm real excited. I'm just like I have ideas. I'm like
So
orcs
elves,
are like my favorite race. So
elves tend to be, depending on what kind of elf you're looking for, they tend to be in most nations. The only elf you're not going to find consistently is you're not going to find what they refer to as the High Elves, which are the most ancient race of elves who refer to themselves as true elves above all the rest. But you're going to find like wood elves and regular that. So you're going to find like wood elves and essentially the seasonal elves and things like that. A lot of half elves. So take your pick. They're going to be in most countries. I would say if you want one that doesn't have a lot of elf population, Zamoro's a good choice. It's also a place where hardy and rough people live because if you notice, well, by looking at the map, there's a lot of tundra. Anything that's colored white on the map is essentially tundra. It's snow almost all year round. So it is a rough place to live.
Cool.
Hardy people.
Correct. There are actually like desert elves and things like that too. So just because I stumbled doesn't mean that there aren't other kinds out there. All right. So last thing we need to do is we need to come up with one more world aspect. One more thing. Now this can be something that's unrelated to the characters.
What's the other thing we want to screw us most consistently?
Correct. Now, I have some ideas here that's unrelated to the characters that could be a problem. While expansionist countries is one of those things, which means I'm going to be probably dealing with like tightened borders, things like that. So if you try to cross into countries, there may be more patrols. This could be something that's overall like maybe it's another villain troop that has their own goal that's directly opposed to you. Could be a group of heroes that's hunting you. It is entirely up to you how you want to deal with that. But those are two major suggestions that I have, like a rival villain group, or just like heroes are out to get you more so than the usual heroes versus villains.
Nemesis. Nemesis?
Nemesis.
Let me see.
Yeah, because I could literally just make that aspect nemesis, and that means that you have people who are directly opposed to your group, not just like the overall heroes versus villains. These are actually people that are out to get you or actively stop you.
They're mad at us specifically. I know the
What are you
stuff I'm
giggling about
planning
over
to
there,
do is
Isabitz?
gonna be. Oh, but
Oh, no, nothing.
liar!
No, it's not, I promise. I asked someone a question, a very, very broad, random question, because it's been killing me all day, and they just immediately knew what I was talking about, and it's just making me giggle. I'm sorry.
Feeling seen. I know I'm planning to probably do some things that'll upset the various good churches as well. I don't think there's a lot of good ways to do necromancy that doesn't upset
Ooh.
the church.
Yeah,
We like to
so in this
see it.
particular world,
Just don't
in this
bring.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, don't bring any pretty people back to life. We don't need more of them.
Don't worry, the process doesn't typically leave you looking great.
We like
So
to see it. We could be a team.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, just to let you know, in this particular world, most churches generally have shrines to the good and the evil gods. Though worship is based on the individual. Most individuals will worship the good gods. Very few will worship the evil gods. Or if they do, it's one of those, I'm going to leave you an offering in passing so you don't fuck with me. Here you go. Here's a small sacrifice. Leave me alone. So broadly, all of the gods are worshipped at most churches. 90% of the time when you go to a church, it's going to be dedicated to the gods of good, and there's going to be a little shrine somewhere on the grounds out of the way for the evil gods, for people to go, hey, don't fuck with me, please. So there are a few churches where it's equal, but there are next to no churches that are the opposite of what I initially described. You're not going to find very many churches that are like, this is a church dedicated to the evil gods. There's a shrine for the good ones if you want to be a
Very
little
well. We just
prissy
got to go to
bitch.
Rokugan for it. Anyways, anyone else have any other
Ooh.
pitches for stuff they want to deal with?
I don't know. I feel like this is kind of based on my. I feel like my character is a lot more kind of like reserved and like out of sort of like the dealings of the um common, like the things that are typically happening in this world. So maybe there should be. I feel like this is for the rest of the characters to kind of decide, and I will go with wherever we go.
How about the other two?
Um,
Do you have maybe a very pretty rival that you want to kill the most out of any of the pretty people?
it's like thinking like maybe there was somebody from the orphanage that, she's gotten some kind of
Yeah,
she's a hero.
that would fall back into the nemesis idea.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the world one. You 100% when we get to the like specific character stuff. Also have like your trouble aspect be a specific
Yeah.
nemesis if we don't go for Nemesis as a world aspect.
Yeah, nemesis as a world
Okay.
aspect would be like it is a problem for the entire group, not just you. If your trouble is like I
Okay.
have a pretty rival, then that affects mostly you and the party, peripherally. Um, Now, if
I to feed into the whole nature versus thing that we got going on with our centaur dude as well, and the expansionist countries. I imagine with more cities and lands being built, there's probably a lot more monster and spirit shenanigans going on. A lot more
Ooh.
territories being encroached upon, so there's a lot more just big monsters being displaced and are not happy about it. So increasing our odds of running into various flavor of monster.
so one of the aspects we can put in here is encroaching on nature. Essentially, what that is it kind of ties into the expansionist, but it also ties into our druid. And encroaching on nature could also be used. At least I could see it being used on certain religious aspects because they'd be like, "We're going to go into this area. We're going to bless it to build a church. Hooray! That's going to displace these monsters. Who cares? They're monsters."
That's what heroes are for.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that aspect more, I think, than maybe the like expansionist nation idea.
To be clear,
Maybe we
there's
have
going to be two world aspects, so this isn't an either or.
right,
Yeah.
right.
But the expansionist countries is something that I can use to do things like war between the countries, or I can add political plots to the game that affect your characters. Versus if I do encroaching on nature, it gives me the option to use monsters. It gives me the option to have like if you set up a secret base somewhere, have heroes suddenly show up because they're checking on this area. This village isn't on the map. What's going on here? Um, so there's a lot of ways I can play with both of them. One of them ties more into the other characters. The other one ties in a little bit more to you specifically, John, because of the whole like nature thing.
Make friends with the monster. Feed them.
I do like the encroaching on nature. Is what I'm saying. Is I like that idea.
I think that's a cool.
I'm certainly down for it.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Okay, so we have our world aspects set. The two group is decided on as expansionist countries and encroaching on nature, and then of course there's the core of the world: heroes versus villains. Um, I'm not going to say that you cannot call on them yourselves, but 90% of the time, this is going to be me using them to cause problems for the group, um, which is good because it's a way for me to fuel your fate points, which is what lets your characters be cool.
Exciting. I apologize. I just I have no I have no concept for this game or what
Right.
we're sort of into. So I'm playing kind of
We-
blind here. So
It's fun. We filed the serial numbers off of D&D, and now we're gonna do random nonsense in that using Fate because it's less rigid and can do more things.
Correct. Okay. If I remember correctly, the next thing is it wants us to talk about important people. Most of those are heroes that I've already created, as well as rulers, etc. Which I will be publishing a list. If you have any
Loser.
ideas, there's also villains in the world, by the way. If you have any ideas for a hero or a villain or some sort of like
Organization.
ruler or organization that you want to see in the world, feel free to send me a DM and I'll work them into the game. But I've established a lot of the world already, so luckily we can skip that particular step. What we're going to go to next is actual character creation. So if you haven't already opened up your character sheet, I would suggest you do so. And luckily, this is a pretty straightforward character sheet. Compared to some of the ones I've seen here, this one's pretty straightforward. What we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and go over the high concepts. You discussed them for the most part when we were talking about your characters initially and their goals. Kit, could you repeat your high concept since I know you have decided on it a long time ago?
Sure. I am going to be. My high concept for my character is a silver-tongued owlkin necromancer. For those less familiar with Fate, your high concept is basically the quick sum up of your character, like what would be on their business card.
All right, so that's Kit's. I know John's was pretty straightforward too, because his would be, his could essentially be centaur eco terrorist. It doesn't have to necessarily be that, but just based on what he's discussed, it could be. Or actually, more likely, if he has the ability to cast magic, it'd be centaur magical eco terrorist.
Radical
Is
druid.
there-
Ooh.
am I able
Radical
to
druid.
radical druid? Am I able to control? Is there nature magic? And am I able to control plants?
Okay, as long as you have the magecraft skill, your character has the ability to cast magic or do
Okay.
magic-like things. The good thing about
Okay,
Fate
great.
is it's not as rigid as other systems in terms of what can I do with my magic. It's like, I want to do this thing. All right, roll magecraft. Done.
Basically,
yeah,
what
I
did?
envision him.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I kind of just envision him as someone who wants to give back to the earth what some have maybe taken from it. So I want him to kind of explicitly use nature plant magic to kill people.
Excellent. We can get into that, how he does that when we get into
Amazing.
skills.
Great.
As long as you have magecraft, you will be able to do the thing.
Wonderful.
Magecraft is not part of the standard set of skills for Fate. It is one that I've added specifically to this game because, well, standard Fate, in standard Fate, there's no actual skill for casting magic. And I was like, I'm adding magic this world, so I'm adding a skill specifically for that.
So
Yeah, I would
if
say
you
my
want to
high
do,
concept is sorry.
if you want to
Go ahead.
do plant magic, I was going to say just make sure it helps to have something related to that in your high concept, because that's one of the things you can tap later for bonuses if it's related.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. By the way, the whole reason why I'm not calling you like an eco crusader is because you're a villain. That's why I keep referring to you as an eco terrorist. Granted, you could be an eco crusader, and that's opposed to a lot of the governments in the world. So lawfully, you would be considered a problem for them.
Right. I think just like in my mind, when I hear the word eco-terrorist, is like I'm trying to like destroy nature, which is like kind of the opposite of what my kind of goal is.
Yeah, no, we can
It's kind of
totally
like
go with eco.
my
Doesn't have the
goal
word
is
ego in
really
it, though.
yeah.
It's true,
My
you don't
goal
have
is
to.
my goal really is to kind of revert the world back to like us like the most. My character's name is Eden. So my idea is I want like his like whole goal is to like have have he believes the world is going too far in like some sort of direction, and he wants to kind of like revert that to its simplest, most nature form. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I'll have to think on that one for a little bit. Because I
Okay.
get the feeling like we could easily refer to you as um like a champion of nature. Um but that also has like positive, like heroic connotations to it.
Fine, villains are just heroes who take it too far.
That's fair.
Yeah, like that's kind of where my mind was at with him, is like he wants to kind of like staunch progress. Like um he doesn't want like he would be opposed to like these governments for sure, because he believes that like there shouldn't be any, so he would want to like dismantle them and destroy the people that like created them in the first place.
So, as a pitch for high concept centaur champion of nature,
Sounds good to me. I mean, unless you have an issue with that.
Nope, that sounds good. I'm writing it down right now.
Yep. And I'm it's of the understanding that you're a magical conduit for nature, so we don't have to worry about adding that since you're the champion of nature. All right, ladies, which one of you wants to go next? I feel like Isabeth is not staring at the screen in order to avoid going next.
No, I mean I have an idea. I just feel like it's too simple.
Simple is actually good for the high concept.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like I feel like my idea is so like large and abstract. So I feel like anything that is more simple, like Lottie's just I want to kill people. That's it, you know? Like that's
I mean,
probably
high concepts can also evolve and change as the game grows on. Like, there's mechanics for that.
Yeah. One of the reasons why we had some issues with yours is because you have a broad but simple concept. So we have to make sure we cover that. Theirs are more straightforward in terms of concept, but that can also cause its own set of issues in terms of finding a high concept that fits, because, well, it's meant to be essentially, this is my character in a nutshell. And that's hard to do because characters are usually more nuanced than that.
So like my idea was just she's a shape-changing assassin, but that doesn't, I don't know, that feels too simple. I don't know.
Add vengeful at the front.
Vengeful?
Yeah.
Shape-changing? I like that. Okay, let's do that.
Vengeful, shape-changing assassin. Yeah, no, that's great. That covers your character in a nutshell.
I was trying to figure out a way to say it like
vapid serial killer.
yeah, I was trying to say like beauty obsessed goblin that wants to cull beauty.
I was gonna say envious, but okay. Serial killer works.
Envious is good. Envious serial killer. She's definitely got like a very anime DeAndre vibe.
If I remember what I was told correctly, didn't you also have a whole stealing beauty vibe you wanted to go with as well?
Well,
That
yeah,
was
I wanted
something that we
to.
discussed. You want to be able to steal other people's beauty.
That would be cool. I don't know if it's like something that we're doable, but it is like an
Yeah.
idea I had where it's like
Fate
this
doesn't
is-
care.
Yeah, the answer to
could
that
be,
is
like,
yes. You can do that.
Okay. I was like, yeah,
Envious.
I'm like either she could try to steal people's faces or like physically steal people's faces.
Like envious goblin beauty thief.
I was
Would-
thinking envious beauty
Or
stealing
serial killer.
Yeah.
I don't. How is the necromancer not the serial killer? In the group?
All right. So I have an idea. Because some of this ties into what I think would be a great title for your character. The idea of the envious goblin, and I'm not going to say serial killer because that invokes certain vibes you may not want to deal with, but the envious goblin face snatcher, I think.
Ooh, face snatcher.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
envious
I was like,
goblin
she's
face
more of a
snatcher.
spree. She's more of like a spree kill.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Though I suppose in fantasy medieval times, it's a lot harder to get newsprint and magazines to cut your serial killer notes into. So spree killer's probably better.
Yeah, I mean, you can go with that.
It's just a lot of sprees. It's a lot of sprees.
I'm just envisioning
Yeah.
Nifty from Hazbin Hotel.
She's
I
kinda
love
like
exactly
Nifty.
what I'm picturing.
So, and again, it's this is going back to what I said earlier. Since John was like, I feel like when it's bad, like when you have a character who has a very specific concept, sometimes it's a little harder to come up with something. But that's where the other aspects come into play to help shape that into something that fits what you want to see. So,
Beauty obsessed spree murderer.
here's a good one: beauty obsessed killer goblin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah, because it fits in the fact that your character is a goblin, which is what you wanted. It fits in the fact
Yes.
that your character's not opposed to killing, and the fact that your character's like, I'm so ugly and they're so beautiful. Angry.
Alright, so it seems like I hang out with two of you because you're just a free source of bodies. No,
Yeah, I
wait, you want to
mean,
use plant
yeah.
magic to kill people. Never mind, all three of you.
You must head back to the dirt and whence you came.
All right.
Oh.
Have you made
Good.
a decision on what you're gonna do, Lottie?
Yeah, I think beauty obsessed killer goblin. I think that pretty
Excellent.
much
Covers it.
hits
That's
the
a
nail
good
on
one.
the head. That covers it.
Excellent. All right. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the character's trouble, which the trouble is a thing that should be a problem for your character 99% of the time. Obviously there's a few instances where you can use your trouble to your advantage, but that's gonna be few and far between. Again, I'm going to start with Kit because I know he's got his down pat. He's been thinking about this for a long time.
Yeah, I'm also keeping it nice and simple with my trouble. Nice classic necromancer problem. My trouble is just arrogance. I'm sure I know what I'm doing. And that is the thing that is going to get me and probably the rest of you in trouble the most often.
I mean, a good villain is a little arrogant.
Yeah, he's taking it a step further though because that's his trouble. He's not just a little arrogant. Like his arrogance will
He's
cause you
very-
problems. Yeah.
I am always
Okay.
sure we can turn it around.
Okay. I love that. I think my trouble is going to be people are prettier than me.
Beauty exists.
That annoys me. It affects me. Beauty exists, and it infuriates the fiber of my being. People
Green-eyed
looking
monster.
good is
I feel
terrible.
like I was going to say beauty obsessed is probably a good one.
Okay.
because then it's one of those things that it shows that it's a thing your character doesn't stop thinking about. Very specifically, it has to do with looks. So
Yeah.
I think for my character, I think because he's so traditionalist, he probably is very stubborn and doesn't see the use in things that are more advanced. So it could be something like that, or kind of like a naivete almost. I'm not sure how these troubles are. Like,
They don't
are you
have to be.
looking,
They shouldn't be more than like a short sentence. Like you shouldn't be writing a paragraph on your trouble. It's all aspects are like quick sum ups of something.
right? Like yours was arrogance. So like trying to think what my arrogance would be. Do you know what I mean?
If I wanted to be a bit more complicated on it, and maybe I will, I could have put down also always believes they can turn it around. That would also work as a trouble aspect, and that's me. That would also describe my character's tendency to just keep pushing even when things have already gone poorly, let's call it.
yeah, like with how you've described your character, you could do something as simple as opposed to technology.
Yeah.
And that would mean that your character doesn't really know how to use certain technological things. I could be like, hey, look, this thing, it's a new innovation, blah, 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 blah. You feel the urge to destroy it.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. Okay. I think that works. Opposed to
Excellent.
technology.
Yeah. So that means we have one more.
Who could it be?
I wonder.
Okay, so is this a problem, like a personality defect with me, or is it an issue that I have in my life that is going to cause issues for everybody?
Specifically issues for you, but it doesn't have to be personality. Like I mentioned earlier, it can be a nemesis. Like your problem is you've got a person who's your nemesis.
So
Yeah,
my thought
Or
was,
debt.
because, and it's going to sound really bad, and I have two different ways I can word this, because I don't actually want to say the first word that came to mind.
Oh.
Because like her adoptive family, because of her skills, her adoptive family wants her back. They're constantly looking for her. People are looking for her, so she is, I don't want to say coveted, but I don't want to say wanted, but people are looking for her.
so she is sought after.
Yes, but I don't know if that's a good one.
She is. Here's a good one. And it could be summed up in a single word: is that she's targeted.
That's a better word. I like that.
Because
Let's do
then
that.
it could be like her old family wants to target her. If the people she's after to kill find out she exists, they might be like, "Oh no, we need to finish what we started."
Yeah, like her family is targeting her. If people find out who she is and who she's related to, they will target her. That sort of thing.
Yeah, because it's better than hunted and it's better than like
Yeah.
coveted. So targeted, I think, is probably an easy way
I-
to sum that up in a
I
single
like
word.
that better.
Excellent. All right, now we're gonna get into the actual meat of your characters, as opposed to like who they are. Now we're gonna get into what shaped them. There are three. The next three aspects all have to do with your character's adventure so far. The first adventure is what set your character on this path. What started them down this road of villainy. Um, I'm going to take a volunteer for this one instead of pushing Kit to go first. If nobody has any ideas, then I might push him just so we can kind of get an example here.
I feel like mine's pretty straightforward. Just society like expanding. I don't know. Like what set me on
the first adventure is like the keystone moment that set you along this. Like what's the moment that turned you from just little friendly centaur druid into I gotta burn it all down?
Maybe I was playing with the idea when I was conceiving this character of maybe like the town or the town, the village or
Herd.
group that was a part of my herd was like poisoned or like suffered the effects of some sort of pollution in some way. And that sort like, and now I'm kind of like, centaurs are already rare to begin with, right? So I was like, I might be a like one of the last ones, you know?
I mean, one of the things that came to mind based on what you've described, and based on what you're saying now, is it is entirely possible that you lived in like essentially a little druidic enclave that was mostly centaurs, and then one of the governments shows up and is like, "Hey, we need this land. This belongs to us." The druids are like, "No, it's ours." And then scuffle occurs, druids die, etc. It is also entirely possible that they may have set up shop nearby, and the whole like industry has caused poison amongst the land, and your people have suffered, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I could also, yeah, I think displacement is probably could be a big one. Some sort of displacement that happens to him and his displacement and possible murder or genocide
You,
of his race.
yeah. Yeah, and then how did he
Uh,
react to that? Did he call upon the fearsome might of nature to do some stuff, maybe? Crime
Yeah,
stuff.
perhaps he, well, if he's a druid, then he would have already kind of been sort of in a magical, he would be sort of like surrounded by magic, so he would probably,
I mean, if it was a druid enclave, there's a grove that gives you magical power, so it's entirely possible they were like chopping down
ooh,
trees, and you were like, "Oh, go away, motherfuckers!" And then you called upon magic and killed a bunch of soldiers, and all the druids had to flee because, oh no, they're going to send more people to kill us now.
yeah, I like that. Lottie, can you mute yourself, please? Um, yeah, I could that perhaps be a response of like the displacement? So like I get my or like we okay.
So
Um, there is a government. I don't know where I'm gonna be from yet, though. I'm thinking
We can
whichever. Yeah. Um. So there is a incident of expansionism. My druid centaur herd gets essentially mostly killed and displaced, and um, I call upon the magics of the nature to dispose um, of the people that
intruders.
did that to me. Is that enough? I don't know. I feel like I'm
so
not.
Well, here's the
I feel
fun
like you're
bit.
asking for more from me, and I'm not sure what to give.
No, that's actually perfect. The final little part of that is you create an aspect based on that story to basically sum up a portion of your character that kind of crystallized from that moment. The reason you want that is aspects should be both positive and negative because you spend fate points to get bonuses when it would apply, and the GM gives you fate points to screw you over with them later. Because that's how the economy of this game works. So for something like that, oh,
yeah, essentially what we do is we take the story that you've come up with, and then we try to sum it up in a single sentence that shows. Uh, for example, you could say that you're. Um, this has both some positives and negatives. We could say that you're a displaced druid, uh, because then it covers the fact that there are, or actually, it might be better to say that you're a, because not necessarily displaced, but we need to definitely do something that some government doesn't like you because you've killed their soldiers. Um,
Sure.
so something like
druid without a
displaced
home.
druidic criminal.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I'm open to collaboration on this for sure. Because I don't have too rigid of an idea, and I feel like I can work with
You
anything.
could go with something like along those lines, like the druid without a home. You could tap more into the uh, maybe something like Avatar of Nature's Revenge. Playing into the whole
That sounds
you
fucking awesome.
done it. So the whole I use nature magic, but the downside is sometimes you might have nature spirits be like, hey, I need you to do something, and I'm not super giving you a choice about it.
I actually kind of like Avatar of Nature's Revenge too.
Yeah. Of course, it's your
Does that
character. You have
does
final
that
say.
No, yeah, I like that a lot. So that counts as first adventure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we're going with.
So the aspect for your first adventure is Avatar of Nature's Revenge, and then there's like a little section so you can have notes on what happened,
Yeah,
so we
you
don't
can put a
forget
note
later.
that's basically the gist of the story. Soldiers came in, started chopping things down, killing druids, and then you were like, "All right, screw this, you're all dead now."
Spirit of
Yeah.
the forest, you're pissed too. Let's do this.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
All right, volunteers for who wants to go next.
Next. I don't know how to word this, or I don't know how to word this succinctly, I guess. So basically, her deal was she left her adoptive family and kind of ran away because they wanted to train her as an assassin, and she didn't want that life. So she ran away. She's in a new town. She's working in a bakery. She meets somebody. They get engaged. Blah blah blah. She has to go like a town over for her boss. She has to go help out at another bakery, like her whatever. Anyway, while she's gone, some heroes she doesn't know, came into town and talked to her fiance and wanted something from him. He was a blacksmith, so she doesn't know if they like wanted a weapon and he refused, if they were looking for her. She doesn't know. She just knows that they ended up killing him. She came back, found out that's what happened, and that's when she decided to get revenge on everybody.
Okay.
Follow-up question: does that mean she went to go get that family assassin training, or just like went, all right, time to go do stabbings myself? I don't need training. I got natural talent.
I don't think she would go back to her family.
So she was trained as an assassin. To make sure I got this right, she was trained as an assassin, and then left the assassins.
Yeah,
Went
she left
to
her
a small
family.
village, had a happy life. Blacksmith fiance. She goes to the next town over for business for some reason or another. While she's gone, fiance gets killed by heroes because of reasons.
Mhm.
So she has decided to pick up the blade and use her training that she didn't want to.
Yes.
Now, has she killed any of the people that were involved in the killing of her fiance?
Not yet. I think she's still trying to find them. She doesn't want to just kill them. She wants to take away what they love first. Um,
So I have a suggestion
okay.
for an aspect. Um, Husband was a blacksmith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you could actually have like maybe one of the last things your husband made like be whatever your primary weapon is. I mean, instead of daggers, sword. I don't know what you were visualizing for your character.
Mm-hmm.
And have that be the aspect, a husband's final gift, something like that. Upside to it is you now have something you can do, spend fate points on when you're using it in combat or for assassinations. Downside is the GM can do fun stuff like invoke it to go, hey, someone took your thing.
So much murder. Um,
I mean, there was always going to be murder assassins in the.
this is very true. There's gonna be even more murder though. Yeah, I like it. We'll do that.
Other people can do pitches too. You don't have.
It's true.
Sorry,
mean,
I'm
the
I'm just trying really.
No, I like that idea.
I have a bad habit of talking a lot and over people, so I want to make sure I'm not doing that.
I'm gonna be 100% honest. I'm appreciating all of the input that you have, and I believe it's very
Okay,
helpful
good.
for getting our group in the correct, getting our group correct.
Okay, if I do that,
Getting our
yell at
vibe
me.
on
Yeah.
check.
If I do that, anyone can yell at me. I won't be mad or offended. I'll be fine.
The vibe check is being passed.
Yes. Feel free to vibe check me at any time. I shouldn't have said it like that. Too late.
Anyway, all right. So we've got that one out of the way. Would you like to go next, Lottie, or do you want to wait to go last?
You know what? I'm gonna go. I have a concept, and it might be stupid. I was thinking that since she's from an orphanage and she doesn't really know where she's from, there was gonna be a big fire at the orphanage one day,
Classic.
and no, yeah, of course. And it was at night, and nobody woke her up because nobody cared about her. And
Oh,
all of like some kind of beam fell on her face, which gave her a scar. And like all of the like people that bullied her got away, and everybody was fine, and they were all like, they all
Oh
got
no!
adopted because they're like, oh, the kids who were in the fire, and then she was too ugly and weird, and
none of the other kids
so
liked me as a kid. Oh, I'm sure that's not true. How could you tell? Well, they left me alone to burn in a fire. Like, oh, that's
nobody
that's
woke me up during the fire.
Yeah, what if you actually? I mean, this is kind of maybe this is a little too Zuko, but what if you had like a really bad like face fire burn scar? You know what I mean?
My idea was actually originally that she was gonna have a scar, but it was gonna be something that was like way less noticeable to anybody but her. But if you like notice it, she gets really pissed off. Like you're like, is there something in your oh,
you
like
got a smudge there.
because I think that would even like I don't know. That's just what I was thinking, but also like the idea of having a big old scar is fun too. So either way works. I thought that it could be like a fun bit if somebody tried to like
I mean, I think it could also be kind of like, you know how Buggy gets really mad when people mention his nose? So it could be kind of a thing that's like super obvious, but like you like almost make people notice it more by how like,
mhm,
you know what I mean? By how
defensive.
like obsessed, yeah, defensive and obsessed you are with it.
Yeah.
Man, that's just reminding me of like because I recently rewatched Austin Powers. It reminds me of the super scene mole 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 mole.
Yeah, it is kind of like that.
Um, okay, so this thing happened. The fire happened. Nobody woke her up. She got injured. Uh, how does that push her to do the whole like revenge thing? Is it just like I'm tired of it now? I'm gonna go now. The beautiful people will pay because I was already
Well,
ugly. Now it's worse.
yeah, like I think that she was already weird because she was a different like because I'm imagining it's an orphanage full of like elves and she's goblin, so she's already weird. And
So
she didn't make any friends anyway because she's a weird little thing.
Weird little gremlin.
And like she like detested them already because they were like, you know, like mean girls. They were all like Regina Georges of the orphanage.
Now,
And
I have to ask this: were they actually mean girls, or is that just how your character
no,
saw it?
she sees it like that. No, she 100% like it's like one of those things where it's like they didn't really even pay attention to her, which is mean in its own way, but she saw everything they did as malicious. So it kind of made her a little whoop whoop and like built up from there.
And it escalates into murders and beauty
Yeah,
theft.
I think she struggles with a perception. I think that she doesn't perceive things as they actually are a lot, and it's going to be a problem for her.
I'm wondering, like, who was the first person that you killed? Like, when did you first start murdering pretty people?
It was the fire. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Like, did she hunt down one of her bullies and kill them?
I think
Like,
I
'cause
think
the
once
fire itself
she.
is a great. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I was like, like in Anastasia, where like Anya just gets like turned out of the orphanage because she's too old. That's what I'm kind of imagining would eventually happen to my character. And so she like hunts down her bullies to see if their lives got like any better or worse than like this one girl that she like hated the most was having a great life.
I could
Okay.
see. Sorry, I could see like your character like you get envious of the people that do get adopted because you think they're prettier than you,
Mhm.
and when they get chosen to be adopted, you like murder them.
Ooh, that's like their
Yeah.
last night at the orphanage.
You know what I
Just
mean? Like you like murder them and
murk
you're like,
'em.
"What about me instead?" And they're like, "Why did you
Um,
kill this person?" What?
Well, going on the idea that she got turned out, because I think this is probably more usable. If she killed one of her
mhm.
former bullies that got adopted after she got turned out, that seems more appropriate for the first adventure than the fire. The fire seems like a good motivator for her to want
Yeah, that's
revenge. So,
okay. Yeah,
the
okay.
idea
So when she
of
gets turned out,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I was just like reiterating what was already like said just to get my brain and I was like, okay, so she um yeah, hunts out those people who wronged her.
I think so. So
So
here's where I'm kind of going with my train of thought, and you can make changes because this is your character. So fire happens, all these things. She gets injured, has the scar. A lot of her bullies end up over time um because of the fire. They either go to other orphanages or they end up getting adopted. Something happens. She ends up being stuck at the orphanage until they're like, "All right, you're old enough. You have to go fend for yourself. Go away now." um, After she's watched other kids get adopted, for years, which unfortunately is the thing that happens to poor orphans. Then she's out and about, like trying to survive, and she happens to come across one of her old bullies, who is now dressed in very fine clothes and is spending money frivolously in the market. Blah blah blah. So she goes, you know what? Fuck her. She made my life a living hell when I was a kid. I'm gonna go murder that bitch,
Mm,
and then does.
I love that. I am excited for her to kill her bullies.
We're not working
Uh,
through anything at all right now. Anyway,
What?
so
uh,
I was prom queen.
I'm sure you thought you were. Uh, how about for an aspect something along the lines of she takes what she wants to go back into the whole stealing beauty or faces, whichever direction you wanted to go with it. Because it's
right. That also means
Oh
that
yeah.
revenge is a thing she wants.
and it has the negative for maybe your character ends up with some poor impulse control in the future. I want that. Take.
I
There's a
mean,
cop
alert
right
obsessed is
there.
Yeah.
already in two of your aspects, so yeah, this is usable.
She's definitely very usable, like very obsession driven.
Yeah, takes what she wants is also broad enough. You can use it for a lot of positive ways for yourself. It's still sort of situational because you're not necessarily going to be in a situation where if you're in a fight where you can be like, I want this thing, I want to murder this guy. I'm like, yeah, that's a little too broad. But if your character suddenly goes, I want that jewel, it will help me be more beautiful. I'm gonna go steal it. And then you can use the aspect at that point to be like, I'm taking this gem. It's mine now.
I get that. Yeah, I think that that works. Yeah,
Excellent. All
I'm
right.
gonna put. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. You're gonna put down takes what she wants.
Mhm.
Very confident young goblin. Out on the town,
She is
stepping out.
ready
I
to
don't know what the hell I'm
fuck
talking
people
about.
up.
He does not know what the hell he's talking about. He's just making shit up. Anyway, moving on. Kit, you're the last one.
Yay! It's my turn. All right. My poor little owl boy, had an okay life at first. He grew up in a nice little village. You know, everything was hunky dory. He, got to listen to all the great stories about all the heroes in the nation. And then, the bad thing happened. And by the bad thing, I mean the cult attacked. Killed a bunch of people and permanently borrowed the rest. Let's call it that. So basically, picked up by a cult, a necromancy cult, because of course, and put to work. He was young enough that he essentially spent the rest of his young child through teenage years as part of this cult, going from chore boy / slave, managing to work himself up to acolyte, to full member of the cult. Got put in charge of one of the nice and important rituals and used it as an opportunity to kill all the other members of the cult. Because he never, ever forgot about what they did in the first place. And he also never, ever forgot about the fact that none of the heroes ever helped his family or saved him from this cult and all the crap he went through. So now he's going to do the things, he's going to solve the problem his way. Murder. And necromancy. And if it's not clear, I've already put way too much thought into this, so I already have my aspect ready, though I'm completely willing to hear pitches. But I'm going to go with otherwise vengeance delayed but never denied.
I like that.
Yeah. I've had way too long to think about it, so that's why it sounds fancy.
Yeah, he's ever since I pitched this game and asked you all of it, because we live in the same household. He's like, "What do you think about this? I have this idea." I'm like, "All right, cool, let's go for it."
I so rarely get to play villains. They're
Okay.
fun.
That covers the first adventure. This is essentially your character on their own. What happened to them? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into Crossing Paths 1. This is where your character has encountered one of the other members of the party at some point. Now, this particular aspect, the story is largely shaped by the person you meet. Of course, you're supposed to work together to shape it. And then we come up with an aspect that fits that particular encounter. Because there's Crossing Paths 1 and Crossing Paths 2, you will have encountered two members of the party, which means you'll have ties to at least two of the three other people in the group, which will hopefully help keep things from devolving into what villains usually do, which is trying to murder each other.
I mean, not immediate.
So I have a
I'm
question.
not the henchman. You're the henchman.
Could we have met at any time in our lives, or is it very specific to the adventures?
The way the book recommends is basically you interject yourself into their first adventure in some way to either help or harm, but there's no reason it can't be something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had the idea because my character was adopted.
Oh no.
But she was pickpocketing. She was trying to pickpocket one of the crime lords, and he caught her and realized that she had the ability to shapeshift, to shape change, and that's why he adopted her, because he thought that he could mold her into an assassin. But my thought was that maybe that's where my character met Lottie's character, was maybe I was in the orphanage for a time before the fire, and maybe we bonded because she has scars on her face too. But I don't know if that would work with Lottie's character.
It's true. Maybe we
You
shouldn't.
want me to murder you?
Maybe we shouldn't do something that has you be one of the murder targets.
You want to be on my hit list?
So here's a thought.
Okay.
Now what I'm looking at here is you're trying to fit yourself into Lottie's story right now, correct? So this would be we'd be working on Lottie's crossing paths one.
I don't know. It was just the idea that I had when she said she was in an orphanage.
Yeah. If we're doing this, I've got an idea on how to pitch that, because your characters could have bonded over the fact that, well, we were both orphans, and life as an orphan sucked. Or at least, you potentially helped her out of a bind because she's killing people, but she's not a trained assassin, and you were both orphans. So that is a
Orphanhood.
thought. Yeah, like I was an orphan once. I will. Technically, I'm still an orphan because I don't know who my actual parents are.
The
It
other
could-
We can bring it back.
The other idea that I had
We can
was
bring it back.
since her first adventure was killing one of the bullies from the orphanage. At that point in time, I would have been in my assassin training. So I could have helped her like get a weapon, or I could have helped her like with the actual like first murder or something like that.
Helped her with the murder. Help her supply a weapon. Help her hide the body.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe you were a target and you talked your way out of me killing you and turned it onto someone else.
She is a shapeshifter. It's entirely possible she was masquerading as the person you wanted to murder.
This is true. That was like I had a test or something. Like I had to go and like become somebody else, and do something. And wait, no! It's me! Don't kill me! Don't kill me!
Okay, so the one of the things that I'm thinking, and one of the things I'm thinking you could use as an aspect is it's a little limiting, but it also means that that it could be useful as something like partners in crime, like partner in crime. That when you're helping somebody else or somebody's helping you, you can invoke that to be able to give yourself a +2 on a pretty wide variety of things. But that also means you have to be working with somebody. So there's that limiting aspect.
I do kind of like the idea, maybe like Lottie, you ran into Isabetz's character at some point and you like killed somebody, like, and she kind of like somehow saw it happen. Like maybe you guys had a similar target or something, like some sort of thing like that, and like she's like, this goblin girl is not good at killing. Like you're like
Doing a
really
terrible
gruesome
job.
about it. And so she like maybe teaches you
Too
how to
tiny
be
and too
more,
filled with rage.
more like sneaky about. I don't know.
Building off of that, I suggest perhaps Isbit's assassin saw Lottie's first murder, which was, we'll go with amateur. But if that's also when the beauty stealing kicked in, I could see how a shape-shifting assassin might recognize, that's a real useful talent in someone I work with to be able to do something like that. So then perhaps let me help you cover up this murder and then let's go talk.
What? And this may be actually really stupid now that I thought about it. But for the name of it, you've got a friend in me. Because like she recognized,
Sounds good
hey,
to me.
you can do the same thing that I can do. Maybe we can help each other out.
I mean, it sounds good to me.
I mean, I kind of like that.
I
After
like
your
you've got a friend
favorite,
in me.
John.
I kind of like you've got a friend in me because one of the things you can use that for is it's not something we discussed, but it is something you could say, well, I murdered this person who happened to be good at this skill. So I'm going to give myself some bonuses for doing this thing, even though I'm not normally good at it. Because then it goes more than skin deep in terms of your theft.
Well, hold on. This is Isabet's crossing over into Lottie's story. This is Isabet's aspect.
Oh, this is Isbit's aspect. Never mind.
Yeah,
I
this
was
is
thinking
Isabet's aspect.
I mean, we can swap that and it could be Lottie's instead. I don't know how she would have joined my...
This sounds more like Isabet's your character wandering into Lottie's story.
Yeah. That's kind of the idea that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like friend in need. That makes me laugh.
Lottie, do you have thoughts?
I was saying I like it. I think it's great.
All right.
I've
Do you
got
think-
one friend. One.
Do you think we can make that work? Because I
Yeah,
can
that-
I can come up with a
think
better wording.
No, I like it.
Like
Seems fine to
let
me.
me help you with that. I don't know. That's stupid too. All right.
No, I like you've got a friend in me. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. Plus these can.
And John obviously loves it because he's a big fan of Randy Newman.
You
Got a friend in me.
Yeah. The voice of an angel.
All right.
All
He
right.
might
So
be a goblin.
go ahead and write that down, Isabeth. And who wants to go next? Don't everyone all volunteer at once.
I don't know.
I actually have a suggestion for how you could possibly cross over into me there, John, with your centaur
Yeah,
friend.
let me hear it.
With you being, champion of nature, I imagine you might have the line on some of the good magical components. So I could, if I had made contact with you somehow to get a hold of the reagents I needed to fix the ritual to do what I wanted.
Components, in the sense that what do you? I don't know what you need to do necromancy. So are you saying like that I would have access to? What would I have access to you?
Oh, make up nonsense, but plants associated
okay.
with death probably. So probably some of the more poisonous belladonna, something that's a flower shaped like a skull, that sort of stuff.
Okay, yeah, cool. Critical
That
failure. It just loaded for me, saying
Yeah, I'm restarting the computer I used to host the server.
gotcha.
that would in fact cause it to fail rather critically. I got to get a light. Anyways, so if you're cool with that, what are you thinking of an aspect for that? Healer on hooves?
Healer on hooves. Yeah, I think obviously I would be interested in people that probably have a similar, or at least have like common goals. So if your goal would be to topple certain aspects of society, then I would be willing to help you in those ways. So
I definitely want to tear some stuff down.
so I think I could it could be something like
Yeah, no, we can go the whole,
your business is my business or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still coming up with the same link, but I restarted the computer, so try it now.
It's
Yes,
working.
Hey,
There we go. Forge, stop it.
The requested user does not exist.
oh no, you're not real.
Log in as John successful joining game. Never mind.
I was like, if he doesn't exist, there's a problem in my life. Forge, stop it. Sorry, my cat is trying to eat. Word.
Lottie, what does your Discord say your input audio devices?
Let me see. Sorry, everything's loading really slowly on my computer today.
Is it pointed towards what's the little button on the back say?
2.
Really? I just feel like I can hear myself a lot in your microphone.
All right. So have we? Are you going to go with dealer on hooves, or one of the other things you can do is something like um, something that has to do with essentially like knowledgeable about rare plants.
Horticulture on hooves.
I hate it,
Hooves
and
for
I love it.
horticulture. Hooves for horticulture.
That's great.
It behooves us.
Okay. That's great.
I hope people try to make a lot of jokes so that I can not understand them and just be like, what are you speaking of?
I can never tell with you. How much technology do you know about? Do you know about wheels? Do I have to explain wheels? Where are we
Wheels.
with you?
These sound devious.
Oh no.
They leave trails in the grass, you say?
Well, yeah, they do that sometimes. That's
So
true.
here's a thought. Here's a thought that might be helpful. You could do something like well-connected horticulturalist,
Okay.
because then that
I'm
means you have
I'm
access to rare herbs and things like that. Also means you might have like a social network of other people that deal in plants. And it gives me a chance to use that against you by having them go, "Hey, I need you to do this thing. I did you a favor before. Now you have a favor you need to do for me."
I'm down
You
for
know all
that,
the,
yeah.
you know all the other people who want to burn the town down.
Well,
So I
yeah,
think
because
that
I'm
leaves.
sure I have access to. I would know where to get a lot of these things from if I am a
He knows where
child
the
of the forest.
you know where the good ganja grows.
Good, gotcha.
Ooh.
A
All
friend
right.
of mine made a joke. That's the universal word in the world. You can go into any country and be like, "Ganja, ganja," and somebody knows what you want.
So I believe that leaves me and Lottie to cross over for our first time to someone
Correct.
else.
Yes. Hmm. Hmm.
Well,
Okay.
you don't have your crossing over one yet, right? And neither
Yeah,
does Lottie.
that's why I said me and
Yeah.
Lottie.
Okay,
I
all right. I
included
was
me
making
in
sure.
there.
No, I thought you were saying you and her crossing over hadn't happened. I'm like, yeah, but you haven't crossed over with Isabit's either. So,
Okay.
and you're the only one who's crossed over with John so far. So,
You
anyway,
envious of the centaur's handsome beauty? Equine beauty? I don't know. I'm losing it.
I was kind of thinking about that, like, what if I am just a really handsome, ancient being? You know what I mean? Like, when
This is the
she
most
just
beautiful horse I've ever met.
she she has a problem with it, but like
He's a
she keeps like trying. She like wants to kill me, but like she's a
too
goblin, and
beautiful.
I feel like I can just kind of like hold
Hey,
back. She's
me
just
off your tail.
swinging at me.
Stop that.
I'm
What are
just
you doing?
imagining like when horses with the tail.
Yeah, like you're like a fly on my ass or something.
Oh no.
it's also possible
Yeah,
that
I
she's just like his beauty isn't manufactured; it's nature beauty. So, I'll let it slide.
Maybe he's born with it.
maybe it's
With
just nature.
Fabio,
Maybe.
the
Ooh,
horse.
what if I'm vibing on my little murder spree, and I see Eden sleeping somewhere, and I don't notice that he's a centaur at first, and I'm gonna kill him, and then I'm like, oh no, wait,
It's fine. He's a horse.
Zeph horse. He's got his own problems.
It's fine if he's a horse. Horses are allowed to be
He's
beautiful.
got 4
Like
feet.
you're like about to like murder me, and you're like, wait, You're a horse. Can't hurt.
I can't hurt you. I love horses. I don't.
Is your goblin a horse girl? Are you a horse girl goblin?
My Little Pony.
Aspect. Fucking My Little Centaur.
Horse girl.
My little centaur.
I mean, it's entirely possible because he's half horse. She's just like, is he a human? Is he a horse? I like animals, not people. So maybe he straddles that line.
More study required.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, more study required. That's really good. That's a good one. I didn't get very good education in the orphanage, so I don't really get how half humanoid creatures work.
Oh, cool. Both of you could not know things together. Just different things.
I'm street smart.
Street smarts.
so here's a thought. If we go with the idea that you crossed over into his story, he ran away from like the big army, blah blah. He's exhausted, collapses somewhere to go to sleep. You stumble across him. We could go with
You bring him a burrito and a bale roll of hay because you don't know which one's correct.
I was gonna say we could go with
Apple?
animals over people, because technically centaurs would qualify as beastkin in some countries.
Oh, does that mean I can have a pet rat?
Eh,
Potentially.
Ratso.
Some kind of ugly animal. I want to. No, I could have a pet possum.
That would be cute.
You could have a pet chinchilla.
Those are very cute, though. Those are very cute.
Animals over people.
You wanna go with that? I mean,
Animals over people were.
You know, friends of centaurs,
like
whether
the
they like it
idea
or
of-
not.
I mean, it seems it's giving very like old school folktale where I'm trying to murder somebody, but then I was struck by their otherworldly features, and I could not. It sounds like some mythology.
Yeah, no, I think I've read that story.
It's Zeus. Usually, he gets the swan pregnant. I don't know.
No, he's the swan who
is the
gets
swan.
ladies pregnant. Anyway,
He's the swan. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to be
He's-
careful
he's
of
the guy
any
who doesn't
animal you
know
met
how
back
to-
then.
It was the cow. It was the cow.
Maybe I was. I don't know. Maybe I was low on mana. Is mana a thing in this game?
Not really, but you can get tired from, doing lots of things.
It would probably be considered mentally exhausting because stuff like that will probably do mental stress.
I'm just wondering what Lottie would have done to me to like for other than just be annoying to me.
Maybe
Like-
I
maybe
mean-
you were exhausted and you were passed out and she thought you were hurt, so she tried to like take care of you and made sure that nobody bothered
Got
you
you
or
some
hurt you.
carrots, some
Yeah,
sugar cubes,
Some water.
give you a brush down.
I heard horses like
Brush
Blair.
down.
But yeah,
I-
maybe
I-
she
I'll
like
wait
took care of you or
breaking my
something when you
hair.
were like exhausted or
Yeah, it probably helped you find a safe place to recover from your injuries and things.
A nice stable.
Which, it again feeds into that whole like animals over people. If she wasn't sure if you were a people or an animal or what.
Right. So would this be me crossing into her or her crossing into me?
This is her crossing into you. It sounds like. That's why she's.
Yeah.
Taking
that's
animals
what-
over people.
That's what it sounds like
Yeah.
so far.
All right, cool. I say let's do that because I think we have to kind of fly through the rest of these maybe.
Yeah. Sorry, I got
Wait.
really funny and I can't help myself.
It's
No,
fine.
that's fair.
I had an idea for maybe me and Isabits.
Go ahead.
I had an idea. idea perhaps that since your husband was a blacksmith and I could have been some sort of like uh customer of his for like, arrows or some
Horseshoes.
sort of horseshoes. But I don't know if I would even wear horseshoes, to be
I was
honest.
about to say, do you believe in horseshoes?
I don't think I do.
Yeah.
It's a little technological.
You
I was just
probably
trying
would
to
have
think
gone
of
to a
like
Fletcher over a blacksmith for arrows. Now, it is still possible that you might have gone to him for other tools to help care for nature.
It also might have been a contact you had before the commune was screwed over. Like for the work that you guys couldn't do, because I imagine you probably didn't have a like full on blacksmith. Like, well, we make the every couple months trip into town to go buy the things that it's just so convenient.
yeah.
I can see that working.
Yeah. Maybe you were the one who saw the interaction with the husband and the hero, so that's how she found out about it.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't there, so you were the witness. Like you came in to do business. It's like, oh, you're busy, that sort of deal.
Yeah. I think maybe I can do that. What would you call that?
There's a couple.
Witnesser of the demise.
I mean,
Maybe
that would
something with
work.
like the word informant or something, because then you could kind of use that both ways. Maybe.
One of the things that I was thinking you could do is trustworthy informant,
Oh, okay. I like that.
because it also means that your character tries not to lie. So if you end up like trying to pass on false information, it could come back and bite you later.
There are no
Yeah.
lies in nature. What do you call
Yeah,
camouflage?
I could. Yeah,
Shut
I
up.
could. I feel like that kind of fits me. Yeah.
Well, Kit, I don't think you have any of your crossing overs yet.
I don't, but John had an idea. It was fun to go on that trip.
And it was.
Alright.
That should cover your two crossing paths, right, John?
It does. What were we going with? Trusted informant.
Yeah, trusted informant or trustworthy informant, something like that. Then
Uh, do, 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 do. How
I
about?
think we need to get you to cross over into Isabet's, Kit.
Sure, I can cross over. What? I can cross over somebody. It might as well be Isabel
Sure.
or whatever their assassin's name. Ah, da 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 da. How about? Okay. After you've gone on your journey of vengeance, I very clearly have already. My character's already very clearly steeped in the crime parts of reality, because cults, necromancers. I'm not imagining they were doing anything wholesome to make their money, anything like that. So perhaps some interaction there for your maybe me pointing you along the right way, or maybe one of your early targets, someone you thought was a target, you came across me, and I was willing to help pad out numbers in the disposable way.
That could work.
Yeah.
I have a thought.
Sure,
Okay.
speak your thoughts.
One of the things we can look at is I figured you're a great way for assassins to dispose of bodies because you can turn them into zombies. But it
Growing
also means that
demands.
you can, as you said, pad out numbers. So one of the things you could add is underworld mercenary, possibly. You're both usable as a fence and source of
Getting rid of evidence, I think, is what you're going for.
well, no, I was going to say you're also a source of what's the word?
Services.
Cleanup.
No, I was going to say you're a source of disposable minions as well.
All right, yeah, that works for me. So, get in contact with Isabeth, providing some disposable friends. Probably shouldn't call your friends disposable, but here we are. How about a skeleton for every occasion?
I love that.
That sounds great.
All right, I'll go with a skeleton for every occasion for that aspect then.
All right.
Okay. That leaves 3 of us still having to do a second crossover.
It's true.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and double check how things have gone. So far, Isabitz is connected to John, Lottie, and Kit. So she's connected to all of you, which is good. So her second crossing paths can technically go anywhere it needs to. Lottie, I think you're only connected to Isabitz at the moment.
And John, right? Or no? Or is he connected to
Yeah,
me? I
me
don't
as
remember
well.
how it went.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to worry about. There's only 4 of us. It's gonna cross over a ton.
Right. I just want to make
Ah,
sure that there's a
okay.
connection between all of the PCs, at least one, whether it goes one direction or the
Mhm.
other.
Okay.
Um,
I'm trying to think of a connection that we could figure out, Kit, that I could
All right, for you
throw my little
crossing over
goblin
into
at
my
you.
stuff.
correct. That's where we're looking
Yes,
at.
crossing over into. I mean, maybe I
How does a
hear that
murder
you're.
gremlin help me?
Well,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have things. I have stuff.
Goblin has wares. Damn it! Sorry.
I have wares. The goblin does have wares. You need bodies? I can get you bodies.
Do need
Well, isn't that
bodies.
isn't that kind of what his thing with
Yeah, that's
Isabitz
what.
is?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
that was
is. Okay.
that was me crossing over into her and providing bodies. So that was me giving skeletons to
Oh.
Isabit's character. So this would
Oh.
potentially be the other half of the equation where Lottie's goblin is like, I have these bodies and nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I'm like.
Don't ask where they came from.
Once I've taken their beauty, or do you want them?
I'll never say no.
I'll never say no to a free body.
They're usually hard to get a hold of. It's very rare someone brings me a truckload, a wagon load.
Yeah.
I'd
Is this
ask
Lottie
questions.
crossing in- Is this Lottie crossing
know-
into you?
Yes, this is we're trying to figure out Lottie
Yeah.
crossing into me.
so here's a thought. Lottie, since you kill people, I assume you probably also take their shiny things and things like that, besides just stealing their looks.
Yeah.
Um,
I am a goblin after all.
So, what if we play up on that where you're not only selling him the bodies, but you also sell stolen goods?
Ooh, I like that. Well, I mean, I have to have something to fuel my rampant spree.
Right, well, you got to have
And all
money
the
to be able
bribes
to
to
pay
get
for
away with
travel
it.
and bribes and things like that. So,
I know. Exactly.
Ooh. So, you bringing a pile of various things to me. So, what's a good aspect for you being a murderous magpie?
Loot goblin.
Oh God, Luke.
that's so much.
Chinese. Chinese for trade.
Oh,
So here's a thought. How about treasure magnet?
Ooh.
Because treasure can mean a lot of different things. For a necromancer, a body is, it's something to be treasured. I can turn this into a minion.
you have any idea how hard it is to get 6-foot corpses?
I'm very strong, apparently.
Well, no one expects the goblin
I
to
like
be
how
able to
treasure
jump that
magnet
high.
works.
Here's another one. I got the goods.
Ooh, I like that. I love that,
Yeah.
actually.
So I believe that takes care of both of your
Perfect.
crossing overs with that.
Absolutely. I love it. That is incredible.
John has both of his crossing paths, so I think that's just me and Isabitz that need a second one.
Yeah.
Correct.
Hmm.
I believe everybody is connected at this point to each other.
Oh yeah, we got something everywhere.
Good. That was my major thing. Now that means all of you have met in the past. You've worked together, so that was my main goal. With only 4 people, it's real easy to do that, and it doesn't matter if we double up. I just wanted to make sure everybody was covered that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've all met each other, I think, right? Somehow.
All right. So thinking maybe to reciprocate some of that relationship with Lottie's goblin, whatever it ends up being called. Perhaps they got into some trouble that stabbing just wasn't enough somehow. Yes, there are problems you can't stab your way out of. I know, it's shocking. And then my Necromancer coming in and playing more into that silver-tongued main aspect of it, helping to muddy the waters, talk things out, and either bamboozle or confuse the guards enough that there's, that they have to let Lottie go.
I've got a good one for that.
Sure, lay it on me.
Double talk is king.
Ooh.
I
That
do
goes with
like
your
that.
arrogance thing too.
It's true. All right, I'll take that. That works for me.
Excellent. So we just need to figure out the last one for Isabeth.
Yeah, I don't know. I had the thought of maybe repaying the information that John gave me by maybe killing an enemy of his, but I don't know if that works. Or
One
like,
free assassination.
yeah, something like that.
So-
Yeah, or like since
Ooh.
Lottie was taking care of him because he was
Redeemable.
injured, I went and killed the person that hurt him.
Well, I was injured from fighting an entire army, I think.
Oh,
Something
never
along
mind
those
then.
lines.
Never mind.
How about
Can't kill them all.
I don't like you that much.
to keep that relationship potentially instead more along the lines of with your shape-shifting none, it's maybe helping lure one of his targets out of the city, because big centaur man walking through city, not subtle, and also everything we've described so far doesn't super understand cities probably, so maybe trying to figure out how to get some corporate person out into the woods so he can beat him to death with a branch.
Yeah, or like get information from him or something. Yeah.
So
I could-
here's a thought. Here's a thought, and this is unrelated to anything else, except it does kind of tie in with John and Lottie's encounter. Who supplied the safe house where John recovered? You have underworld connections through the assassins. So what if you
Yeah.
have a network of connections for safe houses and underworld dealers?
Yeah, and I
Because
helped.
you would have that from assassins training.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps tie you in. Unfortunately, actually, it kind of helps tie you into everybody, not just John, but it helps with John's story and Lottie's, because you'd be the one that they came to go, where do we put him so he's safe?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. Does anybody have an idea of what to call that?
I have
I've got
friends in low places.
What?
friends in low places.
To go along with "You've Got a Friend in Me."
You're so friendly. Who would have thought?
It's the
It's
friendliest
all just
assassin.
song lyrics.
I mean, friends in low places does kind of fit.
Fuck it. Yeah, that works.
And I'm a horse. Country theme.
Save a horse.
Yeah, we'll go. I've got friends in low. I got friends in low places.
Save a horse, ride a centaur? No, wait, that can't be right. That can't be right.
Woman challenges a centaur to woman challenges a centaur. We're gonna have a horse race. All right, okay, cool. The centaur's like, yeah, cool, we got this. Let's do this. Woman looks at the centaur and goes, so where's your horse?
Ow.
Anyways.
Sorry, that joke makes me laugh.
Hooray, we now all have a full set of asks.
Excellent. There's one more we have to go with, and that's the title. This one I'll be working with you to be able to confirm. Luckily, that's the last thing we need to do before we get into skills. But title is also something we can work with on the downtime before next session. And then we can reveal them next session. I feel like that's a better idea than doing that now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump into the skills. The skills in Fate are interesting. You have 24 points that are spent on a one-to-one basis to purchase your skills. Now they work on what they refer to as a ladder system. In order for you to get to a skill to 5, which is the maximum, you have to have a different skill at 4, a skill at 3, a skill at 2, and a skill at 1. If you want 2 skills at 5, that means you need 2 skills at 4, 2 skills at 3, 2 skills at 2, 2 skills at 1. 24 points, unfortunately, won't let you get that high. There's not quite enough points for that. But that's kind of how it works. The way the skills work is when you roll in Fate, you roll 4 fudge dice, which are 4 dice. Essentially, they're D3s. They have 2 blank sides, 2 minus sides, and 2 plus sides. You will take those symbols. Each blank is a 0, each plus is a +1, each minus is a -1, and then you will add that to the appropriate skill. And then based on difficulty, which I will set target numbers for unopposed rolls, that will say how well you succeed. If it's an opposed roll, then you will compare results, and that tells you how well you succeed. So if you want to be good at things, you want higher skills. So if you have a 4 at something, you roll the 4 fudge dice, and you roll with the last roll was a -1, you would then end up with a 3 for that particular roll.
Okay.
So essentially what you want to look at is what skills do you want to be good at? And how good do you want to be at them?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
My shape changing ability, would you call that Magecraft or Deceive?
I would put that under deceive.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. It's more like that's an inherent ability, and then how good you are at it would be the deceive roll for. Am I convincing when I turn myself, or did I forget to add the mole?
Now, one thing to remember, will and physique do add to your stress tracks. Physique adds to physical stress, and will adds to mental stress. If you max them out at 5, they will actually give you another mild consequence specific to their category. So that's something you may want to look into. As the game progresses, I will award additional skill points or additional fate points, additional refresh, which is the maximum amount of fate points you can hold at once, to represent your character growth. We'll go into what refresh can be spent on later. But skill points is pretty straightforward. When I award you points, you can use that to modify your skills. Now, since your characters are basically on the run, the one skill that I'm limiting is resources. A lot of you have connections to outside individuals, so resources isn't something that I'm going to say you can't have. But if you want to have more than 2, we're going to have to talk about justification, etc., stuff like that. In order to edit the skill points, there's a gear in the upper right corner to the right of skills, which will bring up the list, and then you can just adjust the number on the left.
I'm guessing shoot is like being able to shoot things.
It is essentially the catch-all for ranged weapons.
Gotcha.
So throwing counts as shoot. And notices there's no throwing skill. So shoot is the catch-all for ranged weapons. Fight is the catch-all for melee.
Gotcha. And physique. Can you describe? You said physique and will. So if I have points in physique, that adds to my stress. You're saying?
It can. If on your character sheet you right click on the skills, it actually gives you a description of the skill and how you can use it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, athletics.
Yeah, you just right click on the individual skill and it'll actually bring up information. I had to create Magecraft myself, so if you'll notice, it is not as in depth as the other ones, but it is also much more straightforward than some of the other skills.
I feel like as a centaur, I feel like I would have a lot of points in physique, but if like negatively affects me, I don't know if I would want to put that many in there.
It won't none of the skills will negatively affect you by having them.
I just you mentioned the thing about having an additional stress.
Right. Okay, so stress is how you absorb damage.
Your
It's the
health
same thing
bar.
with consequences. It's your health. The more you have, the better.
Oh, okay.
So, will and physique will give you essentially more hit points, or the equivalent thereof. I will give you an example. Say you are attacked by a knight with a sword. You would roll your defense, which is in this particular case, you would roll fight because that's how you defend yourself in a physical confrontation with melee weapons, and they would roll their fight. If they beat your roll by one success, you would have to mark 1 point of. You'd have to mark a box from your damage tracks, either the 1 on physical stress or the 2, or you would have to take a mild consequence. You want to mark stress before you go to consequences, because stress is basically like, this is in the heat of the moment. After a chance to recover, stress will go away, but consequences will not. By having a higher physique or a higher will, you have more stress boxes to mark before you have to resort to taking consequences.
Cool. We have 24 points, right?
Correct. Now, if you're not sure how many points you've spent, underneath the Fate logo on your character sheet, there's 3 tabs. The very last tab that looks like a piece of paper with a folded over corner, if you click on that, it'll show you how many skill points you've spent.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
If you're in the middle of editing points and you're not sure, you can save, which will let you close the window and then check.
I think I've got mine good. I think. Oh,
If
I
you
might go back and edit it.
Yep, you've
It
spent all
didn't. It
24
didn't give me the
points.
error message. I have.
then you must have done okay.
I did okay.
Yeah, it looks good to me. Now, the good thing is because of the way your character is set up, you have you have some ability to pick up some skills at 3 later without having to worry about spending a bunch of other points because you've got so many at 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
There's benefits to having the skills spread out a little and not being too hyper focused. There's also benefits to being hyper focused. You're not spread out too far that I would be like, this is probably at your disadvantage. So I feel like your character's pretty balanced.
Will you look at mine,
Okay.
please? And tell me if you think I need to do something better.
You're very similar in style actually to Lottie, so I'm going to give you the same piece of advice. Now, your characters are not going to be set in stone in terms of skills for the first few sessions, because you might find that, you know what, this skill doesn't actually fit my character. Let me remove it. So I'll give you a few sessions to be able to decide if you like the way the character's built skill wise. But for the most part, the two of you skill wise are you're focused on one thing in particular, which is good. And you've got enough skills at low levels that I feel like you're not too spread out.
Thank you.
Mm.
How you going? How you doing over there, John?
I'm working through it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
How is physique and athletics different? Because the description for physique kind of says it's basically athletics.
Okay, so it's speed versus power. Is the simple way to put it. Athletics is
Okay.
the guy who deals more in speed, and physique is the guy who deals more in physical power.
Okay.
So somebody with a high physique would be the one who could be like, I'm gonna bash this door down.
Pick up big
Whereas the
rock.
guy with high athletics would be like, you know what, I'm gonna climb this wall. I'm just gonna go over this wall. Who cares?
Mm. I think we
All right.
lost them.
We might have
Oh wait, I see a face again.
some cameras have been cutting in and out.
Everything froze on me.
I'm
Might have
back,
been a
I
hiccup
think.
for your internet then. Anyway, other than skills is basically the last thing we need to cover for tonight. We will go over stunts um, during the downtime, so we can go more into the details for those because those are a little more open ended, a little more difficult. And the good thing with those is those can be created at any time they're appropriate, so we don't need them to start the game. But if there's I will leave the table open for you. At this point, I think I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to officially end the session for character creation.